It's the Soapbox on Friday, April 29th. It's the end of April, man. 2022. And we just got done chatting with Nas about episode 5 of Moon Knight, which was quite a trip. Took place in the asylum the entire time in his head. And unfortunately, Nas had every intention of sticking around with us right now, but he got some calls at the last minute during the show, and he's gotta go handle some stuff, some business, and that's okay. So it'll just be me, and eventually Ricky's going to show up, and I'm going to tell him all about the nerdy ass Moon Knight comics that I read today that just have me like completely confused and impressed by this character. But yeah, other than that, there's I was just letting whoever's watching know that Nas couldn't make it, but he definitely
I
wanted
can
to.
talk about GI Joes.
You could talk about
I
Joes.
can't make informed comments, but I can talk about it.
First question is, did you like the trivia game?
I did a lot. I would have thought I had more insight on pricing since
That was fun.
I feel like I'm in this world more than most people, but obviously you and Nas are not most people when it comes to toys. So
Yeah. I'm glad that he won the game. You know, like
yes,
I one day I'll make a game that is meant for you to win,
you
but
got to do
like
the DC Marvel art again. That's my forte.
yeah, that was a pretty good one actually. I have way more games now in the catalog than I ever intended to. Originally, I meant to just have 3 and be like done with it, and it's like I have like 7 different ones, and I like them all. So they're really easy to put together now at this point. But yeah, I really like that one. No, we don't have to talk about GI Joes. It's cool, like because now it's getting to the point where like my whole thing with the GI Joes, like with the brand, is I feel like there's some core characters that are really like that pull at my heartstrings, and I think most people know who those core characters are because they're the ones that end up in the movie, minus Marlon Wayne's character. But you know, you got to have your Duke, you got to have your Scarlet, you got to have your Roadblock, and you got to
If
have your
you're in
Snake Eyes.
charge of
You got to
the
have your
GI
Snake
Joe
Eyes.
franchise right now, what route do you go? You just come off Snake Eyes Origins. Do you try
That
to
one
do a TV show? Do you try to do another movie?
oh, you're not talking about the toys. You're
Well,
talking about
even with the
everything
toys, you
else.
can just keep pumping out the toys. Like,
Well, the trick is it's the same people that are in charge of all of it. You know what I mean?
mm-hmm.
Like this is one of the few fully Hasbro owned properties.
Yeah.
This and Transformers. Um,
Well, that movie
so
was them. Like they have a studio now.
yeah, they do. They
Yeah.
put that
So.
was actually their president before he died. Like that was like the thing that they were
Mm-hmm.
really like praising him for, is that he recognized that Hasbro had to be more than just a toy company. It has to be a media company. And
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, I think you do. You keep I think the biggest thing that they have to do for that toy line, and because the toy line is you know
Mm-hmm.
the bare minimum. That's the bare minimum of what needs to
Yeah.
exist, because that's what they do and that's what they know best. You know, they're gonna put out a GI Joe toys better than anybody else. Even the Super 7 stuff, it's cool, but it's very niche.
Yeah.
But and also they get money for the Super 7 stuff because they're licensing it out to them.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as outside of toys, they still have comics that they try and make sure that good writers are writing those, that fan favorite writers.
Are they with
They're
Marvel now? Those comics? Or are
no,
they
I
with
think
IDW?
they were with Devil's Due for a while, and then they were with Dynamite. But I think most licensed stuff has ended up with the IDW.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but they got to keep the comics alive because there's a whole group of GI Joe fans that just really believe the comics are the main canon. And then what you got to do is, I think the biggest thing that they're missing right now is they got to figure out a way to get that into a cartoon again. Like they need a cartoon that actually resonates with kids, and that's hard. That's hard because it's
It's
all
hard to do a
military.
cartoon,
Military.
a
It's military.
military-based cartoon with guns, even laser guns,
Yeah,
and not to be like on a political grandstand, but that's a tough sell to any network,
it
like,
it
right?
is, and that's why their toy line has been so
Mm-hmm.
lately so focused on the adult collectors, and they've conceded to the fact that now they're just making updated versions of retro
Yeah.
characters. Like they're not like when the line started, the new line, like 2 years, the line started during the pandemic, which was
Mhm.
crazy. But when it first came out, they were doing redesigned versions of characters you loved back in the day that were fresh and new takes and
Mhm.
sci-fi weapons. And people were like, "What the fuck are these things?" You know. But then eventually,
I thought they were cool,
after
but
a few hits and misses, they're like, okay, all right, fine, we're just gonna make them look like they did back
repaints,
then.
baby.
Yeah, but they're 6 inch, they're just gonna be 6 inch now, the
Mhm.
6 inch super detailed versions of the characters they love. And so they're gonna keep doing that now. And like, but for me, I don't know if you know this, but like when I thought one of the funnest facts that I ever heard about from like media and Guinness Book of World Records was, I think it took 20 years, but like in I think in the 20th season of The Simpsons, they finally obtained, or they stole the title for Guinness Book World Records of most recurring characters, and they stole that title from GI Joe. And do you know how nuts that is? Because there's only like 2 or 3 seasons of GI Joe that existed, and
Cranking out toys.
it took The Simpsons like 15 to 20 years before they had had enough recurring characters on that show to surpass what GI Joe does, and that's what's nuts, dude. Like, and so I think the cartoon is everything, man. The cartoon is why so much of us have such fond connections to these. Same goes for Transformers too. You know,
Mhm.
it's
Yep.
just it's been way easier for them to put out Transformers cartoons over the every generation
Yeah,
of
I mean, say
kids
what you will,
has one.
those movies do make money.
Yeah, but even if you don't like the movies, there's cartoons all the time.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
always a cartoon on
Mhm.
some network, whatever. Um, and that's the hard part. Like, I watched the more recent GI Joe cartoon that was, I don't know, like maybe 2012 or something like that. It was pretty good, but it just wasn't. It didn't get enough viewers because military.
Yeah.
So whatever. I don't know how to sell that brand, but all I know is they know right now who they're selling it to, and that's why scarcity is such a thing. So like, honestly, as much as like Marvel Legends like skyrocket in price, if you ever want to flip a toy,
Go to the GI Joe side.
flip a, yeah, Nas would hate me for that. But flip a GI Joe, especially an exclusive, like a
Mhm.
Target exclusive, or I did look them up. I almost included GI Joes in the trivia game. But I was like, well, gee, Ricky wouldn't know anything about these. So I was like, I'm not going to do that. That's mean. But yeah, I looked at it, and the two most valuable ones right now are like a Pulse exclusive Snake Eyes and the Comic Con exclusive Zartan from last year. And those things are out of control because they're exclusive. You can
Yeah.
technically, it's not a Comic Con exclusive. It's also a Pulse exclusive because you could only get that from Hasbro's website. But they're nuts. Like, so there's definitely an audience and a demand, but I don't think kids are buying that line at all. You
No.
know,
Yeah.
I kids like Marvel Legends. I
I don't
think
think kids buy I don't think they do.
I do. I know kids that love them. I know kids that collect them, and they do toy photography and stuff like that with them and stuff. Like, there's a lot of kids that are. Do you know how many kids love Shartimus Prime? They
No.
love
Really?
Shartimus Prime, dude. He has a huge following
I don't
with
know if
kids.
I oh, that's kind of weird.
That's why he's kind of cleaned up his act over the years, you know
Mhm.
what I mean? Like, cuz he knows how many kids love him. Like, and so yeah, you'd be surprised. It's a niche, like everything's a niche now.
Mhm.
That's the thing. Like anything that you're into,
Yeah.
you have no way of knowing how many other people are into other stuff because your algorithms are always serving you the shit that you're into, you know
Mm.
what I mean? So like, so it's weird, but like, I know there are a lot of kids that are into Marvel Legends, but like, I've never seen kids into GI Joe. And I just like, I like, it's a
Well,
tough
even I
sell,
mean,
man.
kids I would argue that kids these days watch less TV than they have
Yeah,
in the past. It's just
yeah.
that focus has shifted to there's so many other forms of media
Well,
now.
they're watching streaming, so I
Well,
don't know,
streaming, but like
but that's still TV,
yeah, but I feel like kids now more so are they streaming like live content or playing games or
Eh,
like it's just more
maybe,
accessible
yeah,
versus some
but if you're streaming, Shartimus Prime, you're learning about toys. You know what I mean?
mhm.
Like, that's That's what you're doing. So, in any case, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I know, yeah, I I am happy to be seeing what they're doing with that line and be like, nah, I'm
Yeah,
out.
at least they're
I'm
taking a
good.
crack
I'm
at
out.
it. They could
I'm
just
but I'm comfortable saying,
Mhm.
I stop here. I got a handful. I have a
Yeah.
tiny little cardboard box filled with the characters I like, and I'm good with it. I'm like,
Mhm.
yeah, I got Snake Eyes, I got Duke, I got Scarlet. I have a Roadblock that's been on pre-order for about 10 months, and he keeps getting delayed for global shipping reasons. But I'll get him eventually, you know.
Yeah.
But I'm good. Like I don't, and then I got a bunch of Cobra bad guys because they're cool and they make for good photos. But I don't really need a lot more than that, and it's fine. So when I see the new ones come out, like I'm like, those look cool. I think Nas is gonna like them. Sometimes I call him up and I'm like, go buy your toys, you know, because I wish I had somebody telling me to do that, but I just have to be vigilant myself, you know. So yeah. And before you ask, I did pre-order those Black Panther toys. I looked at each one side by side with the old one to decide on them.
Mhm.
And like what it came down to was like one, the Nakia. The Nakia is the actual real.
The new face?
No, they gave her new parts.
Oh, okay.
Like she actually has new parts that make her different.
Mhm.
But the Nakia was the easiest one because am I gonna say no to an extra Dora? Like
Yeah.
but also her weapons are energy, the
Mhm.
energy weapons that we see in the movies, and the rest of them were never like that. Like all the old figures, it was just a bladed weapon, and I'm like, but it's not a blade. But then like the other reason I got them all is because I don't have a problem giving away the old ones. Like I do it fast. I just give them away, like Ian's kid, or or like my neighbor's kid, or so. Somebody inherits the MCU figures I don't want anymore, because I don't try to sell those. They're not worth a lot after
Mhm.
especially after they get replaced. But yeah,
Is that like
the
a new initiative that they're doing with? Because it's under like a different header, right? It's Marvel
it was
Legends.
it was Legacy Collection, which
Yeah.
probably means they're going to do it for other things.
Yeah.
But I definitely looked at each one to like decide on each, because I felt easy doing it because I'm like, they don't have a build a figure, so I don't need to get every single one if I don't want, you know. And I'll look at those pictures more of the Civil War one and the M'Baku, but I don't see, like, the thing about the M'Baku is he was the second wave of Black Panther figures, and by then they already had all the production designs for everything
Mhm.
because he came out a year after the movie.
Was
So
he
I'm
not the
pretty
Build a
sure
Figure?
he was the build a figure in the
Oh, yeah,
second
yeah.
in the second
Second,
wave.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, sorry.
Yeah, the first build a figure was a Koye.
Mhm.
And so
Yes. Yes,
so
yes,
what I'm
yes.
saying is the M'Baku I doubt is going to look any different at all than
Mhm.
and so I don't need to get him, you know what I mean? Like, but I saw paint, like the whatchamacallit, the Killmonger has way better texturing, like way better, like all over his body, and the face actually matches the way he looks in the movie, the mask.
Mhm. You know what's
Um,
something that's bugging me? Like, it's when we saw that Comic-Con trailer all those years ago, I swear to God, Killmonger's suit was white. I they
I
could
think I saw something like
they
that for a
showed the
moment.
shot of them falling down the pit fighting, and, like, I wanna find leaked footage or something just to justify that
It
memory.
might have been gray. It might have been
But it was
gray.
definitely a lighter tone,
Yeah,
and for whatever reason, it just bugs me more than it should, not knowing.
yeah, maybe.
Uh, yeah.
I need to tell you about this comic I read that was super funny. I think it's like Avengers 33, like one of the newer volumes of
Mhm.
Avengers, but it's about like it's like the Avengers versus Moon Knight. And basically, like the coolest thing is it starts with like explaining, Mark's, or like every first page of a Marvel comic gives like the origin of a character, or
Yeah.
if it's the Avengers, it says, they came together to become Earth's mightiest heroes and blah blah. So like the first issue or the first page of this comic, it has both. It tells the Avengers origin, and then it gives Mark Spector's origin. But at the very end of Mark Spector's thing, it says, he's been doing the will of Khonshu all this time, but it's never been known what his true intentions were until now. And you find out in this comic, I didn't keep reading the story because I had, I was trying to get through a bunch of different stuff. I'm gonna continue reading the story this weekend, but Khonshu decided to take over the world,
Oh,
and and so he fully empowered Mark with all the tools he needed,
to do that.
and Mark started going to all the most heavy hitters, like mystical characters that exist, and started stealing their powers. So he went to the Iron Fist and he used a device, an Ankh, that pulled the Iron Fist out of Danny Rand. And then he went to Doctor Strange and stole Doctor Strange's powers. And then he went to Ghost Rider's house and stole his fucking car. Like he stole Ghost Rider's
Pretty
car.
good.
And then, yeah, he just kept going around kicking the shit out of everybody. And like Khonshu also had amassed a cult, a following that reminded me of the following that Amit has in the show. You know how there's all these secret people that have been worshiping Amit and following Harrow. Yeah, no, Khonshu has that in the comics. And so there's all these people he's formed an army, and they go to Wakanda and they march on the Black Panther, and Moon Knight explains like he's not there for him. He's like, I want to meet your god. Like he's not fucking around. And then the next scene is like the Avengers are freaking out and they've called in Thor because like Thor's off on Asgard. And they're like, we need your help, bro, because Moon Knight's lost his shit and he's kicking our asses. And as Thor's flying in through space, he's getting there to arrive on Earth. Before he hits Earth, he stops and he's like, whoa, there he is. Moon Knight is chilling up on the moon. Like, and by the way, they made it a point of mentioning earlier in the story that it's the largest supermoon that's ever happened in a million years. So like he's like the most powered Moon Knight that's ever been powered. Yeah. But now he's literally on the moon. Like clearly he's got enough power that he's just surviving on the moon. And he gets ready to fight Thor. And Thor throws his hammer at his face. And Moon Knight puts his hand up and the hammer stops. And he starts.
I'm looking at the comic right now.
Dude, it's so awesome. He explains to Thor in short detail. He's like, this is an interesting hammer that you have had all this time. But yet you've never known its origins. And he's like, yes, you know that it's made of uru, which is an old metal that probably existed before the Big Bang or whatever, but do you know what it actually is from? It's from one of the oldest orbs formed in space, aka a moon. Like he's like, this thing's made of moon rocks. And it's all of a sudden the hammer turns around and starts beating the shit out of Thor. Like it just beats the crap out of Thor. Like Moon Knight wrecks everybody. And I was like, this is the best. This is the most hilarious thing ever.
Ignorance here. Is Khonshu the moon god?
He's the god of the moon and vengeance and other things.
But of our moon or of moons in general?
Oh, dude, right after he had had the hammer beat him up, all of a sudden a bunch of other moons came in and crashed on
so he's
Thor.
god of moons.
I guess in the Marvel comics, sure. Okay. But I don't know that ancient Egyptians knew
because that would imply that every moon has a Khonshu, right?
Nah, I don't know what it implies. Like you've never really read any of like Neil Gaiman stuff on like gods and stuff. Like have you never American Gods? You never watched American Gods?
Never watched American Gods.
So the idea that he presents in a lot of his stories, like Sandman, Lucifer, the Eternals, and American Gods, and I'm trying to remember another one. There's a lot of different stories that have kind of borrowed from him too in that way. Is the idea is a god only exists because people believe in him. You know what I mean? And so, like, if there's no people,
no power,
then there's no power. So I don't think it implies that there's a god on every moon or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think Mars has a moon god because
Yeah.
there's probably nobody on
No
Mars that's
people.
worship. Yeah, yeah. But American Gods is, if you never watched it, you should check it out. On It's like the best thing on Stars. Um,
Mhm.
it's it's a story about uh, the new gods that exist in the modern age, because there may have been old ones like, like Zeus and Thor and all the, the Egyptian ones, all the different ones that we've read about, in history class or whatever and stuff like that. But nobody talks about the ones that are the most popular gods, which are like the god of media, or you know what I mean,
Like
like
modern day.
yeah, like
Yeah.
the media is what we worship, in today's society. So media becomes a person, manifested, and so like that can connect to anything, any screen, and anything that conveys information to people and stuff. And so what it turns out being is there's a war coming where it's all these new gods that want to finally kill the old ones, because the old ones are barely
It's pretty
hanging on
meta.
by
Yeah.
they're hanging on by a thread. And so the main character, or one of the main characters, is Odin, but he goes by Mr. Tuesday. That's the name he goes by, which actually Tuesday comes from or Odin.
Mhm.
It was originally called Odin's Day, or Woden's Day, or sorry, Wednesday. I mean, Mr.
Mhm.
Wednesday. I think Wednesday is a translation of Odin. That's what I meant to say. Sorry. Yeah, because it's Woden's Day. But he's going around and trying to find any that are still alive, like from all over the world, any of his old gods. And so he's trying to put together his own army to battle this new, like, there's media, there's technology, there's globalization. I forget exactly what it's called. I think it's called globalization, but that's a thing, right? That's a thing that didn't exist for
Back then, yeah.
up until really the last like 20 years, right? It's a
Mhm.
Globalization is a concept that's a product of media, right? And the connectivity that we've created from technology. So globalization only exists because of media and technology, but it is the most dangerous and most powerful thing there is, because like we no longer have to be separated by our ideologies anymore, right? Because we can share ideas with everyone around the world and stuff. And so it's just created newer, more dangerous gods, basically, that are just like
Who are more powerful because they're newer.
because so many of
Yeah.
us worship to them, without even acknowledging that it's our religions. You know what I mean? Like television and movies is a religion at this point. So
Mhm.
yeah.
Was the Moon Knight comic that you read the first Infinite comic that you
No, I've read
touched?
I've read other Infinite comics. I read
Okay.
Shark
Oh, those
Dog
are
one.
cute. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Frank the
no,
Shark, right?
something like that.
Jeff the Shark. Jeff the
Jeff
Shark.
Jeff the Shark.
Mhm.
Yeah. Uh, no, I've read that one. I think I've read another one too, but no, the Infinite one was cool. Like it was a little, like, I don't like when Marvel puts out a comic that's exactly the story that's coming out in the TV show or the movie. And they literally just started that issue one of that came out like last month.
Brand synergy, baby.
Yeah, but it kind of like spoils the story, that spoils one, like, so
Mhm.
it was a little gross, but it was like, okay, I see where this is going. The whole thing just kept making me think of the conversation last week where Joel was almost certain that everything we'd seen before is fake. And I'm like, bro, they ain't gonna do that. There's not They're not gonna do that. It's not gonna be fake. It's gonna be the new thing in the Marvel universe. And it's gonna be okay with it. But yeah, that Moon Knight versus the Avengers thing is hilarious. You should check it out. It's really funny. There's like 4 pages of him beating the shit out of the Iron Fist. And it's really funny because like they go to trouble of like, it starts with Iron Fist winning the fight, and like every time he does a different move, they call out what the name of the move is that Iron Fist is doing. Like he's got all these different moves. He's trying not to use the Iron Fist, right? Like that's kind of Iron Fist's whole thing
Like the last
is,
resort.
yeah, he doesn't want to kill you, and that's why he doesn't want to use the Iron Fist, right? And what was really interesting about that is I didn't realize that was actually the first time the two characters have ever met. And like Danny was making a point of like, I've always heard we've been in the same circles, but we've never actually met. And I was like, wow, really? Like 2017 is the first time these two characters have met. But it's really funny because every time like he's punching or kicking, because Moon Knight starts by attacking him, and so he's just doing like self-defense and like trying to do like different like kung fu moves, and he keeps calling it out, and then Moon Knight gets a punch in, and they call it the Fist of Khonshu. And then like as the fight continues, it's just more and more Fist of Khonshu, Fist of Khonshu, Fist of Khonshu, and then eventually it's just a billion Fists of Khonshus, and dude gets his ass kicked. And it's because he fought Moon Knight on the biggest supermoon of the last million years. And but that's the funniest thing. I don't know if you've seen. You probably don't see it on TikTok. There's like this whole niche where there's these fun like nerds on that all they do is they tell you who would win matchups.
Yeah.
And like they'll run the gauntlet, right? And so people will submit new gauntlets for them to decide on. And it's like Captain America, and then it'll list like 6 characters, and you gotta like the guy will break it down like
Rank
why.
it. Yeah.
He'll tell you why he wins this one and why he loses this one and stuff like that. And that shit always cracks me up because it's like, bro, even Stan Lee said this before in interviews. The winner is the person that the writer decided wins. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
that's
everyone's the hero of the story that they're
yeah,
written
yeah.
in.
So when they decide I need to tell a story where Moon Knight and Khonshu take over the world, I'm pretty sure Moon Knight's gonna win all these fights because that's what he has to do. You know what I mean? Like that's why I wanted to talk about it with Nas, because Iron Fist is like his favorite superhero. And it just cracked me up to see Iron Fist get his ass handed to him by this guy who just literally punches over and over again with his fist. But yeah.
Did you see Feige's one of his closing comments at CinemaCon was they were going on a retreat, an MCU retreat,
to decide the next decade?
Yeah.
The next decade. Ugh. Yeah. I'm fine with it, but like I think it's the same thing as like the comics, you know what I mean? Like everybody's got their sweet spot, like their sweet time period where like this was my favorite time to collect comics.
Their era.
And yeah, and then eventually you just kind of like stop, you know what I mean? And sometimes you'll go back later like I do. Like, like I had fun reading like Moon Knight from 1985 because I could see the beginnings of the 90s artists and stuff like that, like I could see the way they were drawing women and be like, you're really close. You're there. You're almost there, like or seeing the way they draw muscles on men or storytelling or whatever, all these things. It's fun to dive in every now and then, but like that's what the MCU is going to be eventually. Eventually, you're just going to have to pick and choose your shit.
It'll be weird, right? Like telling you, yeah, I remember the Infinity Saga.
Exactly.
And then
but that's
the King Wars.
But it's not really weird because that's exactly what we did. You know what I mean? Like
it's a different medium.
I never read Secret Wars. You know what I mean? Like I just barely missed it.
I have a great video for you if you want.
No. I mean, I have now, but I'm saying like I never read it as a kid because I was probably like 1 or 2 years too young to ever really grab that. I had the toys, but I just didn't really at the time. I wasn't making the correlation between the toys and the comics. Like the jump where it's like, oh, I should go read these things. So like I get it, like everybody, like and so that was a weird hole in my nerd resume or whatever when I would talk to my friends, because like a lot of my friends that are slightly older all remember growing up reading that book, and it's the same thing. It's gonna be the same thing for the movies, like, and I think that's kind of cool that they've just been the reason the movies have succeeded for so long is because they literally took their business model of how they tell stories in the comics and they just translated it to movies. And that's why I think it's funny that like we always like get in this weird repetitive cycle of saying like, I know how this is going to end next week. And I'm like, yeah, we always know how it's going to end.
They win. The super wins.
That's okay, man. It's okay.
But it would be kind of nice to have a one-off, not saying Moon Knight specifically, but a one-off run of a character and just be done with it.
Yeah, but for right now, they have so many that they haven't let the world see,
Hmm.
that they're just going to keep doing that. They're going to keep looking at who has the biggest room for growth in that new
Hmm.
medium. You know what I mean? And Moon Knight checks all the boxes that Guardians of the Galaxy did. Is that it's weird, it's stuff that some people really really love, but most people don't know shit
Well,
about.
like Werewolf by
You know,
Night, right? Like, do
that's going to be
you?
a cartoon though. It's going to be a cartoon.
Hmm.
And we already know that we know plenty of people that disregard cartoons,
Yeah.
and see them as different than the movies. And that's how it'll be treated. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't I don't think Werewolf by Night is going to have the same impact in the same way that, a lot of nerds are still trying to hold on to What If, but even What If, like, people already
They've already
consider it.
said that that's not the same Strange.
They are people. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Well, they said one of them is not there's the Strange that people want from What If to be in the
Yeah. Is
show
not
is
in.
not, but the zombie one is.
Yeah.
There's zombie Wanda in that too. So like
Mhm.
they couldn't help themselves with the zombie verse. They liked it too much. So that's fine. I don't mind them acknowledging What If ever, but I'm saying, like, there's a whole group of people that don't count What If as being part of the main story. You know what I mean? Because
Mhm.
and you're included in that too.
I don't
You
think
know?
I appreciate that there's episodes of What If that are just fucking bonkers. But at the
Yeah,
end of What If, they do wrap it up. They loop it back in nicely
yeah,
at the end
yeah,
of
yeah.
that show. It's not just a one-off thing like, "Oh, I guess it is." They really loop it in a bigger way than I think they didn't have to.
Yeah, yeah, true. And they looped in an episode that we never got to see too. Like, so
Yes, they loop.
that was pretty weird. But yeah, no. I just think, like, you're either along for the ride indefinitely, or you're gonna check out at some point because it's gonna stop feeling like it's for you. And that's fine, because that's how the comics felt to me. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, it's at some point, like, your favorite writers or your favorite artists, their contracts end, or they just decide to move on to something else, and then the stories start feeling just slightly different, or the comic, or the sorry, Marvel wasn't happy with the direction they went with a character, so they decided to go in a new direction, and that new direction isn't what you like, and
That's okay.
it's yeah, it's fine. It's fine. That's like, that's how you end up, just saying everything is a movie. No, but, like, you just cherish the ones that you like,
Yeah.
and it's fine to compare
It's
them.
okay not to love it all.
Yeah,
It'll be
but
impossible to love it all at a certain point. It's a
exactly,
numbers
and
game.
that's what I've been saying for about 5 years. Like I
Mhm.
said, that after Infinity War, I'm gonna stop caring so much. Like, I still cared enough to do a podcast with you to talk about this shit every week, but the difference is like, I'm most likely, unless we're talking about a Sony movie, I will most likely err on the side of being positive,
Yeah.
because I understand that they're always going to try and do something a little different, but at the end of the day, it's got to be mass media content. Like, it's got to be for the masses, and it's got to be likable enough, and it's got to stay close enough to the formula that it doesn't feel jarring for the
Mhm.
audiences. And
It's
so,
definitely a it is super. I mean, I would like 10, 15 years down the line, whenever 20 years, whenever Feige's done, someone to sit down and just pick that man's brain on the process, cuz
oh, he's the
I
new
think
Stan Lee.
I
He's the
think
new
the
Stan
MCU
Lee.
gets a bad rep. People say it's formulaic, but they do it in such a way where it's
They
still
they
unique. They're still striking gold
Yeah,
99% of the time.
I like to picture the people in the MCU, like, who are behind it, who hear those complaints say they hate us because they ain't us. You know what I mean? And,
Yeah.
like, that's the reality of it is,
They're in their own lane. They carve
like
their own space.
everybody
No
else
one is
is
doing what they're
trying
doing.
so hard to
Yeah.
do what they're doing,
Mm.
and they fail every time. They trip and fall every time they try. Like, nobody's pulled it off. Like, we used to think Star Wars was this crazy thing that could never be outclassed, like,
Mhm.
and as far as nerd media went, and it's like, dude,
But it like
Star
just
Wars is so far behind this shit,
you know, what elements they choose to pull in, where they choose to deviate, and it's
Yeah.
it's pretty fast. The whole thing is it's a marvel. Like it's a not to play on words, but like from a business and movie, just a movie making process, it is pretty
There's
remarkable.
they're a studio that exclusively makes movies based on their comics that all tie in together. That
Yeah.
is such a weird niche studio that should not be as successful as
No,
it is. But, like, can you imagine if every A24 movie had to connect to the one that came out before it? Like, that's
I'd be
so
kind of down
weird,
for
right?
that. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, we'd be down for it, but, like, it's such a hard
Yeah.
undertaking, you know what I mean? Like, and so most studios wouldn't tie a hand behind their back the way
Hmm.
this one did right out of the gate. Like, right out of the gate, they got their bank
Yeah,
loan and
that
they
that
said,
was the
"This
sell.
is what we're doing," you know. And so that's so ambitious, so crazy, and they will take shit for it forever. But it's not justified. Like, you, like, they print money.
Hmm.
They print money, and, like, if that's not the most important thing ever in a capitalist society, then I don't understand capitalism at all, you know? So, like,
It's like the I think Avatar 2 got an announcement right this week for CinemaCon. It's called The Way of the
yeah,
Water. And people are like, I don't know if it'll still be as big as Avatar 1. And it's like, if it's a fraction of the popularity of Avatar 1,
yeah,
that is still a $1 billion movie.
like,
Like,
I actually had a doubt in my brain, pop in
mhm,
my brain yesterday when I saw that I was like, "Is that gonna be good?" And then I remembered, I was like, "What was the last James Cameron thing that was bad and didn't break all box office
right?
records?"
Like,
I don't remember, like,
a
ever.
mediocre James Cameron movie is still a
Is
$1 billion movie.
Yeah, exactly. So, like, I don't know why we do this. Like,
Hmm.
we people say, we like to root for the underdog, but we also really like to root against the tried and true. And it's so
Yeah.
weird. Like, why? What's wrong with tried and true? You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying, like, I'm a Tom Brady fan, but, like, at a certain point you just have to
You
respect.
got to respect the
Yeah,
accomplishment. Yeah.
yeah, you got to respect that he's goddamn consistent. You know what I mean? Like, and that's the most football you'll get out of me. But
Yeah.
I'm
No,
just,
it's the same with a lot of different, you know, you got to take it for what it is.
yeah. So it's just funny to me that, like, how much, like, the, everybody has their breaking point, and it
Hmm.
was funny. It was funny to see Nas's today in this episode, because, like,
Hmm.
when this show started, he was texting me and he's like, "Oh, did you watch Moon Knight? It was so
Hmm.
cool." I'm like, "Yeah," and I felt that way every week, dude. Like, I think this is probably the show that Lindsay and I have most enjoyed watching every week,
Hmm.
like, of the Disney Plus ones, like outside of the Mandalorian. Come on, the Mandalorian's freaking, that was the best thing. Like, um,
I
but
haven't gotten Selena's take on this. I feel like
Lindsay
she
loves it.
she she enjoyed I feel like I'm getting since she enjoyed Hawkeye more, but it's a little bit more relatable if you're not
Yeah.
fully versed in the Moon Knight.
I think the reason I love it is because of the way they approached it, which
Hmm.
was,
It's
let's
a slow
go,
burn.
yeah, let's slow burn it, but also let's start from a direction that nobody expects.
Hmm.
Not even the fans, and let's see how that is perceived. And I thought that was really cool and ballsy of them. And I was down for it because I knew that eventually it had to get to Mark. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not mad. I'm not mad that Mark is the main character and wasn't really in the first episode at all. Like, I mean, he's there at the very end of the first episode, right? Like, he's in
Yeah,
the
he shows
in
up.
the mirror image. Yeah. I don't know. I feel like I've seen movies do way more offensive things where like, they start with the villain for like the first 20 minutes and I'm like, "What are you doing? Don't tell the villain story first. That's not who we came to see." You know what I mean? Like so I get the complaint that like there's not enough Moon Knight in a show called Moon Knight, but I'm like mathematically though, like go look at any Marvel movie. There's not enough of that character in most of the movies. You know what I mean? Like, there's not enough. There's never enough. Like, go watch Spider-Man: Homecoming. There's way too little Spider-Man in his regular ass Spider-Man suit. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but I still love the movie, and so and I know that at the end there's going to be a shit ton of Moon Knight. I will. We should make a bet. Like, I don't know what I would do if there's not a
Count the
massive
minutes.
amount of Moon Knight
Give me a
beating the
minute
shit out of
number.
things. I don't know, man. I don't really care as much as other people
I don't
do
I
about
don't
this stuff.
I don't really mind it either way. It would be cool to have Moon Knight do Moon Knight things in the Moon Knight show in the finale, but I don't um
I will say that what I do want is
mhm,
the brutality that Kevin Feige promised.
mhm.
I barely got a little of that last week,
I mean, it's
but
more than what we've gotten in the past, so
yeah, but I didn't expect the brutality to come from somebody other than Moon Knight. You know what I mean?
gosh.
We got it. We got it from the weird chitter monster,
So we
like
got it from the mom, but
well, yeah, we got some there too, but we didn't
yeah,
see it.
no,
We didn't
yeah.
see it. But I'm saying the weird monster that made meat chunks was probably the most
Yeah,
brutal part of the whole show. And I'm like, no, 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 Kevin Feige. I want Moon Knight to be the most brutal thing on his show because that's
baby steps, right?
like now I am officially a Moon Knight expert, and I know that that guy cuts people's faces off, dude. Like, and that is cool, and I want to see that. And so, you know, I don't know that I need to see that next week, but it would be nice. It would be nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm ready to be surprised though. Even with
Yeah.
um I was talking to my boss is a big kind of MCU fan. And I was talking with her about next week because I'm taking Thursday off. I'm getting off a little early to go see
So you
Doctor
can go see
Strange.
Doctor Strange. Yeah.
Yeah, I like a 3 o'clock show. We're both going to separate theaters, but like we're both taking off at 3. Like
Why is
cool.
Selena go to a different theater?
No, my boss.
Oh, your boss is okay.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
just so I can
Gotcha.
see it after work that day.
Gotcha.
Um
I
and
did
we're
check with Travis, by the way, and he's fully on board with that.
all right.
Like that's what he's doing. Like,
But I
eh,
was talking with her about it, and like I'm kind of Doctor Strange is kind of the one of the first movies in a long time where I'm kind of bummed that I know as much as I know going into it,
see,
and the surprises that await are not as I'm bummed that I'm not gonna be able to enjoy the surprise.
I'm super
Hmm.
excited to like not know much. Like, I'm
Hmm.
kind of bummed. I got a Doctor Strange toy in the mail the other
Hmm.
day, and like I'm like, too much
Yeah, two
information. I
Doctor
didn't.
Stranges in the past 2 years, right? Or past couple months because you got the Spider-Man Doctor Strange, right?
Oh, I've got way more than two. Because I
Oh,
got
the Astral Plane. You got the Defender Strange.
yeah, the Defender Strange is the one that came in the mail last week, and when I saw him like in the packaging, you don't see something that you see when he's out of the packaging.
Oh,
I don't want to show it to you. You can go look it up. You can go look up a review of it yourself if you want. But like the packaging cleverly hides a thing that has my brain going in a million directions. And I'm like, all right, now what is this? Why this? What is this thing?
I'm looking it up.
Well, don't spoil it for the one person that's gonna watch this before next week.
I don't know what you're referencing.
You'll know it when you see it.
Okay.
Yeah. And I was like, okay, cool. So yeah, I've been trying to like just stay away, like because I feel like that fatigue after Spider-Man where like can you imagine how much better Spider-Man would have been if I didn't know those things? Like so I'm kind of excited that I barely know anything about this one other than what the trailers have suggested, and like, and Patrick Stewart has greatly denied. I'm like, Patrick Stewart, you're tripping balls if you think we don't recognize your voice.
Right? Like,
Like,
I
you're
mean,
tripping
I
balls.
wasn't gonna say it, but like going
Like,
into a
we you're
Professor X in the MCU, and like I'm like, okay, it's like I
I,
want to be
it,
more excited about it.
Patrick Stewart, you are like a nerd god. You're a nerd god. You're not just one famous nerd character. You're two of the most famous nerd characters. We know your voice, bro. We know it. Like, so I just feel like that's the only spoiler I need for that movie. You know what I mean? Like,
Okay,
outside of that, I'll find other
yeah,
ones.
don't watch that new trailer then.
Yeah, I don't want to. I just want to go see the movie next week. So,
I'm
but
not
I'm really
seeing what
excited that
you're referencing. I'm trying to figure it out now. You got me.
Hold on a second. I can type it in private chat so that
Okay,
you can just know. Um,
but
there
I'm
you go.
excited. Oh, that's in the trailers, but I don't know what that means though, movie wise.
Exactly. Exactly. I don't remember it in the trailer, honestly.
Um, it's there. He does a spin, but we're in
It's
it. We're in the summer MCU season, kicking off.
that's a little. Yeah, I guess May is summer, huh?
Kicking
Yeah.
off. They always own that May first week of May slot,
Yeah.
end of
Well,
April slot.
first week of May used to be Spider Man. Was every Spider Man
Mhm.
movie used to come out on the first week of May
The
from the very.
Transformers took it.
Yeah. It's also, I believe, Free Comic Book Day is usually what they do.
Yeah.
I haven't been to a comic store in about 6-7 years though.
I
So
went to the last free comic book day, and I'm like totally confused on the dates. If that was in May as well, or if that was later in the year.
they're usually in May. Yeah. But yeah, I'm I feel like my throat is pretty tired of talking all night long.
We'll wrap it up. Wrap
Yeah,
it up.
I can wrap it up. I'm excited for next week. I think next week is going to be fun media. I you know what? I do have one question to ask before we
Hmm.
go. Cuz I was noticing, like, Lindsay and I were taking stock of our streaming apps,
Yep.
cuz like I'm actually on the fence about do I want to keep Netflix? Netflix is expensive now. It's
Hmm.
expensive, and I'm like, do I really watch Netflix that much, or do we use it just as a go-to for garbage when we're out of other stuff? So I started thinking about, like, I asked her, it's like, how would you rank the apps, and it's funny because, like, she says she would, like, she has a real good point. She would never watch Disney Plus if it wasn't for me.
Agreed.
And I'm
Oh,
like, yeah. And I was like,
mhm.
truthfully, I only watch one thing a week on
Yeah.
Disney Plus. Like, but I also feel like it's the cheapest of them all because,
Well,
uh,
once my 3 years are up, I don't
yeah,
think I'll probably just renew month to month when I need to.
yeah,
Hmm.
yeah. It's a
We're
weird
in
one.
a unique space where I think the only thing that I actually pay for is Disney Plus, Amazon inherently, and
But see,
I
yeah,
think Hulu.
but we automatically give Amazon a pass, right? We don't,
Hmm.
we
I get
never,
other things from
like,
Amazon. Yeah,
because technically Amazon's the most expensive one
yeah.
of them, but like
There's value there.
nobody bats an eye at Amazon Prime because it's
Hmm.
just like, oh, look at you, you're cute. You're also giving me free shows to
Hmm.
watch. You know what I mean? Like, I'm never mad at Amazon.
We
So
get a lot from other people.
yeah, it's
Like
fine.
people just offered to share passwords with us, and all
Yeah,
right, cool. Like sure.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
So but I don't know if I would necessarily pay for Paramount Plus to watch Halo.
Yeah,
Like,
well, yeah. So to be clear, that's
mhm,
my thing that I do too. Is like, I don't necessarily share, but like I find free coupons
mhm,
or free trials. You know what I mean? So like,
mhm,
I am doing a free trial monthly, a month trial of Paramount right now.
yeah,
I'm on a 6-month trial of Apple
mhm,
right now, and like, HBO, I get that through somebody else, and then so I pay for Hulu and I pay for Netflix, and I technically pay for Disney Plus, but we bought that at D23 like 2-3 years ago, whatever. Um, the package deal for super
Mhm.
cheap. It's like $3 a month. So like we really were just looking at the ones that, what would we pay for these? You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
and honestly, Apple at least knows its worth. Apple is like, we're only $5. And I'm
Yeah,
like,
the Apple is
that's
priced really well,
yeah, that's really good pricing. You know what I mean? So
and
like,
all their stuff's in 4K, right? For you,
yeah, yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah. Paramount, I think, is delusional as fuck. I
Mhm.
think the lack of content they have outside of Star Trek is ridiculous. It's
Paramount gets a pass for me, because they do live TV,
yeah,
and during football season, that's a big to get live. Streaming sports is still kind of a weird thing to do.
okay, that's fair.
Um, on that note, though, do you guys have you don't have an antenna plugged into your TV, right?
No,
Because we I've noticed we watch that more often than not for just like,
I won't do it because I don't want commercials in my life. I hate them.
it's
I hate them so much.
for like mindless stuff when we're
Like
the news or
I love getting to the movies late now
mhm,
because like it's like 20 minutes of commercials, 25 minutes.
watching The Masked Singer live or whatever, you know.
Yeah, I gave up on that show because of Rudy
Well, just an
Giuliani.
example, like stuff like
Yeah,
that. Like we
nah,
tend to go that way more often than not. Um, when
I
we're just
pay
turning on the TV.
I pay the $4 extra so my Hulu has no commercials, and it is so worth it.
That's what I'm
So,
waiting for
so
when my Disney Plus things expire. They'll just do
yeah,
the
the combo
the
with
the
ESPN.
triple with no ads, yeah.
Yeah, I'll do that too. Um,
That's a
but
good value. What is that, $12 a month?
yeah, it's like $12 or
Yeah.
something like that. And I pay $12 for Hulu.
Mhm.
So like why wouldn't I do that to get Disney Plus
Yeah.
and ESPN rolled in, which I'll never watch ever.
Hulu's pretty cheap, though. They always do that thing during Black Friday too, where it's like
Yeah,
a few bucks.
Hulu knows its worth, and I'm cool with it because at the end of the day, mostly Hulu's just doing all the
Mhm.
shit you can watch on TV, but they have some originals that are really cool too. But like, yeah, I was
It
just
does
curious.
add up, though. Like, I know
It does, right?
we're
Yeah,
gonna be in a weird space soon where, like, okay, we're getting kind of like a Game Pass service for PlayStation, you know? Is that something that you're looking to getting all the way or no?
not really,
Mhm.
not really at all. Yeah, that reminds me, I may be doing another show with Frank. Um, uh, uh,
A game show?
yes, but a really unique, specific one. It's because I have like thousands of games, right?
Yeah.
Um, and he loves platinum trophies.
Mhm.
Like he's addicted to platinum trophies. So like we kind of created a game that or a show we want to do where we dare each other to play games,
That's pretty
and
good.
we go and record ourselves playing those games, and then we come back together here on StreamYard, meet up to yell at each other for making us play the games we played. And then it's kind of like a review, but kind of also like a shit talking thing where like, we can be mad at each other for whatever we did or laugh at each other for whatever we did.
I kinda like
So
it. That's a
so it's
lot of
kind of
commitment, though, depending on the game you assign someone.
well, so that's what I'm saying. Like it's not like we're just doing a trial. So we're giving each other a month to do the first the first one.
What's
The
the first
first
game?
uh I'm gonna meet with him to probably tomorrow or sometime this weekend to so because I want to record us telling each other for the first time what the
Mhm.
games are. So I'm not gonna say until I
'Kay.
record it. But it's gonna yeah, we're not gonna like he's already like overthinking it more like the way Frank does. And I'm like, that's fine if you want to. I just want to like be funny and just like I just want to give you a game that's gonna make you laugh and be like, well, I didn't see that coming, and then he's like, well, how much do we have to play? And I was like, I don't know, what's enough to consider you gave it a chance, like, and then like Lindsay's like, maybe like at least 10 minutes. And I was like, or until you want to stop playing it, like, and I was like, what about if it's like 5 minutes past when you want to stop playing it? Because then it's like really funny to watch you be pissed off at the game, you know, like. But yeah, I don't want to. But he made it clear to me. He's like, whatever game you give me, I'm gonna platinum it. And I was like, all right, like, so that's him, you know. So like, so knowing who Frank is, I couldn't give it. I couldn't say let's do this weekly. You know what I mean? Like, I just want to see
All right.
what it's
That's kind of a
like.
cool idea. I like it.
Yeah, I want to call it Dare Game, kind of like Fair Game. Dare
All right.
Game, the show where we play the games that nobody else wants to.
Welcome to Dare Game, the show where any game you
It's
need
fair
a
game.
tag. You need a
Yeah,
tag.
yeah.
Yeah.
I had something written down, but it was really funny.
I
But
had
I
like
can't
a
remember.
brief moment this week where I could play game. Usually I play either Fortnite or Madden because
Yeah.
they're pretty quick sessions that are I know how much time I'm going to spend going into it.
Mm-hmm.
But I played BioShock again for like the first time since I was in high school.
Mm-hmm.
And man, I played BioShock and BioShock Infinite and just going through like the first probably about 2-3 hours of each one. And those stories are very much different than I remember. Like, have you ever played Infinite?
I've watched Lindsay play Infinite. I didn't play it myself.
They go in places that totally blew past my head in my child mind. The themes they're dealing with, and it's like, man, it's a pretty cool game.
I actually read on IMDb, and one of the fun facts for Moon Knight, they were
Mm-hmm.
comparing that quote that Dr. Harrow has about a struggling mind will often build places to seek shelter.
Mm-hmm.
They were comparing that to a line from BioShock Infinite, which also kind of deals with alternate created realities
Mm-hmm.
and stuff like that. So, yeah. The other thing I forgot to mention is you just reminded me because fun facts. You know, there's another QR code in this episode, right?
No, which one does this one reference?
It goes to Moon Knight Volume 1, Number 1. But Marvel has said that their website like will change it weekly so fans can get a different Moon Knight story that was served as inspiration for the story as a whole. So if you do the QR codes every week,
Where was the one in this episode?
it's when they're looking out the window in one of the doors and they see Mark standing outside of his parents' house,
Mm-hmm.
afraid to go into
Yeah.
to the Shiva. And then he's like, no, you don't want to see this one. Because like Steven's trying to remember. He's like, what's that from? And he's like, no. You, don't worry about that one. You know, like, this is a street. It's like right there next to the door. It's just on the panel or on a panel next to the door. It's pretty funny. But yeah, it's 12 minutes in, exactly 12-minute mark of the episode.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Sorry. I just had to interrupt. I just remember that I
like
had that.
the Easter egg. You know, it's like next level Easter egg in a sense, right?
Yeah, it's multimedia Easter eggs.
Mm-hmm.
That's what they're doing. Yeah. But yeah, and by the way, the game thing that I was telling you about, like we each made our own rules to make it comfortable for us. So like, I asked him, please, since I don't know, you know, obviously I don't know how long Frank will want to do this with me.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, can you just not make me spend money on games right now? Like, can we just limit it to the volume of games that I own already that I've never played? So I gave him the actual dates from which I started getting all the games for free to when I stopped. So it's a 3-year window, you know, like he
That's a lot of
basically
games.
any game from April 2016 to September 2019 that has ever come out on PlayStation, just tell me which one you want me to play and I'll play it. And so, you know, but then for him, I was like, what's your comfort level? And he's like, it just needs to be a game that I can easily platinum. I don't want the platinum to be something unattainable. And I was like, okay, but do you care about spending money? He's like, no, I don't care. I'll buy a game if you want, if it's for fun. So, you know,
You should do the
we just
dildo
set
game.
we just set our boundaries. We set our boundaries. No,
The
I have a game. I have a game.
okay.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. It'll be fun. It'll be funny. And it's gonna be a little bit of post-production kind of thing. So like we're each
No, it's cool.
we're gonna use our Elgatos to record us playing a game, and then we'll come like will come with like Frank wants to do it like a book report where he shows the footage and talks about it, and I'm like, I don't know that you're going to be able to with the game I've chosen, but I'm not going to say that to Frank.
He's gonna
It's
send his mind into overdrive.
he wants, yeah, whatever he wants to think of, like it's going to be fun. But I'm just, our patrons just got a sneak peek into the future
Okay.
show that we're going to be putting together here. So you'll see. But yeah, I didn't want to like rope anybody into it, and I didn't want to like make it a guest thing because it's a weird thing to ask people to go
Yeah,
buy
that's a
game.
very like
Buy game.
hyper specific.
Yeah, but I thought it's something that's more up Frank's alley than watching shows he doesn't want to watch and talk about them for an hour and a half. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that guy games hard all the time. Like
he is a gamer.
yeah. And so, and I wanted to get use out of all the stupid games that I have that I've never played. You know what I mean? So like, it was a twofer for me. Because like Lindsay pointed that out to me. Like that's kind of like my thing. My crutch is creatively. I need people to collaborate with, or I won't do something. You know what I mean? So like that's why I did Figure Photo Fight, because I had to have a Nas to hold me accountable. But then eventually it got hard for Nas to do, so he wanted a break, and so I was like, okay, I'm not going to hold you accountable anymore. And then what happened is, because I wasn't holding him accountable,
Yeah, you lose it.
No one was holding me accountable either. So that's why we're at where we're at, where we haven't gone back to do it. But and that's why I would never do a podcast by myself. Also, that's stupid. You don't do a podcast by yourself. But
do it.
But I don't want to. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I need to have guests, or I need to have people to talk to that like constantly. And so yeah, so I just figured, I had this idea 2 years ago that like I want to do something stupid with these games, but I never got around to doing it because I couldn't figure it out. And just kind of finally it kind of hit us the other day when we were reviewing that stupid vampire game. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the reason the conversation stopped in Slack is because I immediately, after we got done joking about that's our review and that's why Frank's been gone, or he's been gone, I immediately jumped over into a private chat with him, and I was like, no, for reals though, if you want to do this, we could do this. And he's like, I kind of love this idea. Yeah. So it's funny, because like Lindsay, I told Lindsay, and she's like, but I thought he quit your show to do more creative projects on his own. I'm like, man, I'm not questioning it. Like
sometimes you gotta loop it back around, right?
If
Like
he wants to do it, he wants to do it. I'm not mad. It's cool, whatever. Yeah.
No, that's awesome. That's really cool.
Yeah. So we'll see. But at least I get to finally play my stupid games that I have and make an excuse out of it. But I think a month is a good window. And then
that'll give you enough time to prepare something and then have
yeah. And then we just come together. But I've been focused on making sure this got done today. So after tonight, I'll hit up Frank again and be like, do you want to meet on StreamYard really quick to record us delivering each other's games? Because I just want that. I want that to be part of every show, is the before and then the after.
The reaction.
Yeah. So I want to give it to him, and then a month later, I want to see what happened from that. And it's going to be so good. And then in the future, every episode we record will end with us giving the next
game.
Yeah, the next game. But I think that's how it should work. I
think if you said it monthly, you're on a good track for sure.
Yeah, because then it's just like extra cool content, and we can figure out how we distribute it or whatever. But it'll definitely be on Denix Media for sure. So you can promote it as well. All right. But yeah, I think I'm good. I'm done.
I'm donesies. I got work tomorrow too. So.
Ugh. All right. Have fun.
Yeah.
Cool. Don't forget to check out that concert to get your free token.
I won't. I'll probably do it tomorrow after I'm off.
Yeah, it's like 15-20 minutes. It's
I have to sit through it.
It's just all Portuguese though. That's the only weird thing. I don't know what he said. I don't know what he said at all.
Sounds cool.
Yeah. All right.
All right.
Night, everybody.
See ya.